Sometimes people are wrong. Be it in a passionate argument of whether or not Proteus is a good game or not, or maybe it's you blaming all your shortcomings on the game just because you have the gaming capabilities of an embryo. Maybe, in today's case, you were wrong because you had high hopes for a game in a franchise that you really never had an opinion on to begin with. And that was something that I wholeheartedly had to admit I was wrong about. So I'll probably be sure to crack out the dog and the ukulele to start apologizing. Welcome to Payday 3, ladies and gentlemen. Without a doubt, most people's most disappointing game of this year. Now, if you remember a while ago, I made a video on the beta of the game, which, thank you so much for all the support in that video. I feel all warm and fuzzy inside, like I didn't make it to the bathroom in time with a full bladder. And in that video, I stated whilst I didn't think that the gameplay was anything special, I had a lot of fun with the game as it was. You know, looking past the fact that the game looked like someone smeared vomit on the lens, the game running like a bike chain getting stuck during a marathon, and the servers making me feel like waiting for Silksong would be a less waste of my time. I genuinely thought that during this beta phase, if everything could just be smoothed out before launch, then everything would be a-okay. Right? Fuck. So since many of you guys were rather excited for me to make a follow-up to this, I also chose to stream my experience on this game live with everybody. So for all of you who stopped by for those streams, thank you very much. And for those of you who joined me on this journey to figure out whether or not this game was worth the wait, I like you more. So time for you to all sit on your asses, sew your mouths shut, and come join me to figure out why I was wrong about Payday 3. So before starting the game, I forgot that there was an account system, because a terminally online gamer like myself could always do with way more accounts to deal with. But because my brain is comparable to the size of Scraptrap, I was able to somehow remember my logins. I didn't feel like doxing myself, so I don't have footage for this. Sorry, Sniper Wolf, maybe another day. And so after all of that, we loaded our way straight into the game lobby. This is definitely a video game UI if I've ever seen one. So here we have 5 tabs. The play option where you get to pick either heist or the one thing that people always skip in video games. The loadout menu where you get to admire what you're going to be causing large-scale genocide with. The vendor menu where you get to splurge all the currency you gain during missions to buy the things you're going to be causing large-scale genocide with. As well as Riz, the challenges menu, which I think is a funny word. And the more tab that just has shit like settings, credits, EULA shit, and linking a Blue Woman account. So after all of that, I decided to stop pissing about because I know what you guys are all here for, but I'm sorry to disappoint everybody because we never had any of those server lobby issues the game was plagued with upon launch. I was genuinely hoping to make fun of this, but I guess it's fine. Making normal jokes is hard enough as it is, so cut me a little bit of slack. In this game, there's a total of 8 missions, all divided by story events, which you won't see me talking about in this video, because I'm here to get paid in the most ethical of ways, and I really don't care why we're doing it. So the first mission is Ain't No Rest for the Wicked, and I've already made a Borderlands joke in my last video, which I will not be repeating here. So we get our briefing, estimated amount of money we'll make during this mission, be amazed that we were able to get into a game, and here we go. And in this mission, we need to rob a bank. This is clearly the most original plot for a heist game. I don't think anything like this was ever done before in any other form of media prior. So we can either sneak in, or say to hell with that, grab the cash, escape the level, get money, and realize that we still have another 7 missions to do. Mission 2, Road Rage. Now, as we all should know, this is a phenomenon that we all experience at some point in our lives, because it's the only time when idiots come out. But in this mission, we're supposed to sneak past civilians, fully armed and dressed for whatever fucking reason. Why can't we just start out not looking like the opening minutes of The Dark Knight? And we're meant to rob an armored transport and then get the hell out of there. While the armored vehicle doesn't really put up any form of resistance whatsoever, which I do not think is realistic in the slightest. Mission 3, Dirty Ice, where we're supposed to play the first heist mission in GTA 5, except this time it's way worse. Mission 4, Rock the Cradle, where you're supposed to rob a nightclub. This is the best looking level out of all of them, if you couldn't tell. Mission 5, Under the Surface, with the Z, to let you know we appeal to iPad children and incels. And here we're supposed to yoink paintings, but the twist is being there's a real and a counterfeit one. So I guess the Louvre was bullshitting us with fake crap all the time. Mission 6, Gold and Shark? that for some reason has an E at the end, so I guess that must mean it's fancy, where you're supposed to rob another vault. Did they really run out of ideas 6 missions in? Mission 7, 99 boxes, where you're supposed to steal high-tech components. And finally, Mission 8, Touch the Sky, which didn't load in for us, so I guess the whole server bugging out shit finally caught on. So guess who had to do this entire mission all by himself? Not me, because guess what? I wanted to gather footage for this one specific stage while I was on my own, but the game bugged out on me completely by telling me that only the party leader can start the match. Well, I was the only person in my party. So I tried and tried and tried. And after the game had told me that there was a connection error, I thought, okay, this must be what's up. Then I tried again. And nope. Only the party leader can start the match. And I don't think the word heist is supposed to be copy and pasted like that over and over again. So guess what? I wasn't able to play this stage. Does that mean that this review is incomplete? Yes, but so is this game, so piss off. So let me actually talk about the game if you haven't watched my last video on it yet, which you probably should, even though it's just on a beta. If my Outlast Trials video can get 20k, I'm pretty sure this one can too. So like I've mentioned before, there are like 3 stages to each heist. The stakeout, which thank you to for pointing out my spelling mistake on the last video, but I am going to continue to spell it wrong over here because my illiteracy seems to bring joys to others, so I'll deal with the embarrassment. The engagement phase, where shit goes down and you start looting the place like a little goblin, and lastly the escape phase, where you grab everything that you can and exfil the mission like it's Modern Warfare 3 zombies. And there's 2 different ways that you can play this for that added little dash of variety. You can either go in quiet and loot each place without anyone even knowing that you were there based on how well you and your team can coordinate and strategize each heist, or do it the right way. So as much as I tend to follow the when stealth is optional moniker, I have indeed tried to do a few stealth approaches to the game, and I can confirm this is indeed a first-person stealth game, except instead of getting thief, we get thief. You get to walk unarmed, mark things like guards, civilians, and cameras, but you're not allowed to do any stealth takedowns and shit because that's naughty. You have the typical moments where guards become suspicious and they'll search where they last saw you until they get bored and fuck off. And when you get spotted, well, I'm glad to report that this is where the fun begins. Yeah, stealth isn't really all that much fun, but I guess if you're going to act like an introvert, it's a good thing that this gameplay style is incorporated so you can interact with as little people as possible. But for the rest of us, we have this. Oh, wait a minute, I must have popped in the wrong game. Yes, if you couldn't realize, this is polish. Any case, besides all that, have you played any first-person shooter with sliding, aiming down sights, and shooting? Well then, I don't really have all that much to add to this. In terms of the bare-bones first-person shooting, it's really nothing all that special. You have your guns, you bring to each heist like pistols, ARs, or shotguns. When you initiate each heist, you can tell people to go down, take them as shields, or throw them around like a soggy sock puppet. And as the shit starts hitting the fan, you'll either have guards, normal police officers, SWAT members, which are basically the exact same thing, and some special enemies. Yes, this game is a prequel to Left 4 Dead, so of course there's gonna be special enemies. The only 2 that I can name off of the top of my head and that I can remember encountering is the bulldozer, which is a beefy man, my goodness, which is just a bullet sponge, so take that as you will, and the cloaker, which is a guy that can one-shot you and continuously wails on you until you're dead, or until someone helps you out. I am pretty sure that there is more than that, but I haven't encountered them, and I couldn't really care less to look this up, so I'll treat them like cryptids in a History Channel show. And basically, that's all there is to it to the enemies. You just shoot and kill all of them until you're able to finish all of your objectives and escape. Nothing more to it. But since there are, of course, enemies, they're able to kill you by either A, dropping you, or B, after a set amount of times as you did get dropped, take you into custody. But I mean, that doesn't really mean anything because you'll just respawn after 60 seconds anyway, meaning there's really no consequences on death. That might just seem a little bit annoying for your teammates that actually know what they're doing. Now going back to the hostages for a minute, after a certain amount of time goes by, which is almost like a cooldown period before the next wave of cops come in, you're able to trade hostages for different resources like health packs, and I'm pretty sure that's it honestly, because I guess that makes sense. I don't think cops would be willing to give you ammunition to kill off more of their squad, so health is probably the best thing. And in terms of world interaction, that's also pretty much it. I have no doubt in my mind though, in terms of game mechanics and other stuff that you can do, there is a fuck ton of things I've glossed over, but I don't care. Now let's talk about your character. Well, you're an FPS protagonist, that much is clear, but in what I think is a nice change of pace, in terms of how you manage your health, you have to solely rely on health kits to recover some of your lost health. On top of that, you need to stock up on armor so that you don't go down so easily. So we already know that we're able to trade hostages in for med kits, but how does one refill their armor? Honestly, from what I was able to find out, there is only really one way, and that extends to another part of the gameplay, being that you have a set amount of supply drops that you can drop for either yourself or your teammates. And these can range from things to health, armor, ammo, and a zipline, which I only used a total of once. I can say it was fun, definitely made me feel like I should star in an Uwe Boll action movie, and as you can guess, it has a set amount of each thing I mentioned so that you can restock yourself at any moment. You also have grenades, which does grenade things, and for the stealthy people, you also have these little hidden cameras, which I didn't use at all, so look at this meme from my last video. And while we're on the topic of that, if there is anything I also missed on the stealth side of the gameplay, I'm really sorry, but I don't care. However, unlike my last video, I was actually able to get this game's new overkill weapon, which in my case was a grenade launcher, and it went just as well as you'd expect, and yeah, that's pretty much the gameplay of Payday 3 in a nutshell. So with all of that out of the way, let me talk a little bit about the pros and cons about the game. The pros. I like that there's multiple different ways to approach each area and the gunplay feels good. And this game is a ton of fun just dicking around with friends. And a detail I forgot to mention in my last video, the soundtrack do be banging. That's it! The rest of the game is just a total fucking mess. So let's start out with the obvious. For a game on the next generation of consoles, the graphics barely look passable to qualify as a cross-gen version of a PS4 and Xbox One game. Need I mention the clipping through character models of the civilians and your teammates? But on top of that, for some reason the guards and the cops are safe from this nightmare fuel, so I guess good on them. I didn't want to be inside them anyway. Stages are fine, I guess, but I mean, they're just typical everyday locations, like banks, jewelry stores, museums, and shit like that. The only location that stands out to me is the nightclub because visually it's the most varied, but everything else, just bland like a failed Hell's Kitchen meal. Sad to also say, the enemy AI is the most brain-dead shit on the planet because most of the normal cops and SWAT guys are just cannon fodder getting one-tapped if you can aim worth a damn. And even the special enemies are just more of a nuisance than anything else, with the dozer just being a bullet sponge and the cloaker being easily dealt with by your teammates when you get down. It's just really boring for the most part. Nothing really makes anything engaging enough to keep my attention and make me focus, and that's just the gameplay in a nutshell. I don't even really know whether or not things can improve if you decided to just go in stealthy, but from everything I just mentioned, I'm scared that that gameplay style will have its own set of problems, so I guess I'll save myself from the headache. And speaking of headaches though, for one instance in my playthrough, I was placed into a match where every single teammate of mine was a bot, which brings up a question. Was this game not meant to be online only? How the hell did this even happen? And another thing I'll say is, if this is the competence of your teammates' AI, then I think online only was a better option. They literally just sit there and do nothing. They don't progress with you while you're stealthing, they don't push forward to do any of the objectives. All they're good at is they have infinite drops and they can kill cops without any problems, but other than that, they're useless. This makes me wonder if this is what people think when they play with me. Now comes the very last thing I feel appropriate to bring up. Aside from the gameplay, I have a lot of issues with the whole loadout and armory section of the game. Do you want to know why? Well, let me introduce you to the need to grind. That's right, in my playthrough, I believe it took me around 4 to 5 hours, I managed to rank myself up to level 14, which I thought was really good. Climbing up the ranks has never felt this rewarding. I should be hailed as a king for this accomplishment. But it turns out I wasn't even able to unlock the first gun. And not only that, you're gonna have to buy the guns that you won with one of 2 in-game currencies. Now, I gotta respect the fact that they didn't put any microtransactions in here, but for fuck's sake, now you just have to endlessly keep grinding in these bland missions just to unlock an AK. But I do have to say, I guess the one thing that stings the most, I'll never be able to get the kitty mask now. So I'm just gonna have to uninstall the game so I never have to think about this ever again. And with all of that out of the way, that was my experience playing Payday 3. I'm kind of disappointed, not gonna lie. I had never once played any of the games in this franchise properly beforehand because I've been training in the ancient art of neglect. But oh my goodness, this game should have also been added to that pile. I even forgot to mention that this game still has Fortnite performance, and for some reason, still lags on the occasion, so the performance stuff hasn't also even really been fixed from the beta. But it did smooth out the longer I kept playing. So I'm starting to wonder if that was done intentionally so that Steam players would only get good performance after their 2 hours are up. I think that the Euphoric brothers need to take note. But guess what? I played this on Game Pass, so get fucked, Starbreeze! So now it's time to answer the golden question of the beginning of the video as to why I was wrong about Payday 3, and by extension, why I think the game failed. Games could just mid. It's just mid. That answers both my questions. It's just nothing too special. This game is just lacking too much content, too grind heavy. Basically, missions and stuff are repetitive. And like, if I was able to go through each and every single heist with my buddies, the way how we were just playing, going guns blazing, and not being able to experience anything and still being rewarded, and really not even giving a shit about unlocking half of the stuff that's there, then I think you got a bust game right there. And I've seen like this report about like now the player numbers for Payday 2 has risen since Payday 3 has failed, and it seems like nobody's going to be playing this game anymore, and they just move over to the one that's just way better. And there's a little bit of a fun fact, and you may have seen me use a little bit of the footage of a later stage in the end of the video. I actually went back and I played Payday 2, and I've actually gained a much larger appreciation to that game just because after I played, like, after playing Payday 3, because you can definitely see how much more love, passion, care, and all that stuff went into that game, and I would definitely 100% recommend you guys go back and play that. And yeah, that's pretty much all I think. I think that this game could have a possible resurgence if they fix like a few bugs, performance issues. I don't know how the servers and shit are like nowadays. Like, this has been a while since I've actually sat down and actually played the game again. I've kind of lost all my interest after like not being able to play the final heist. But yeah, that's about it. The only things I can say about the game, it was fun to play with friends. So to everybody who joined me, Poncho, Notorious, FatCowOfChaos, thank you all so much for stopping by and joining me on those streams. And thank you all so much to everybody who was in chat during those streams. I genuinely appreciate that. And to all of you guys, thank you all so much for watching this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And if you guys didn't like it, I am going to wear a clown mask and rob you of all your personal belongings. But in any case, I've been John from the channel with a freakishly long name. As usual, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys liked the video, please leave a like. If you disliked the video, I'm not going to threaten you guys all over again. But yeah, that's about it. I've been John from the channel with a freakishly long name, and I will see you all in the next video. As a little bit of an update, I nearly forgot to say this. Yeah, this is gonna be the last video of 2023 for me on, like, a solo game. The next video after this is gonna be the end of the year video that I'm planning on releasing somewhere close to, like, end of December, maybe January, around that time, but that's going to be the next video on this. It's a huge, like, tier list video I'm going to be working on, and this game is going to be back on there, so stay tuned to figure out what tier I'm going to be ranking that on. Got a bunch of creative buddies of mine on board with the project, and I'm super excited to finally get started on that, so look forward to that. I hope you guys well, I guess I'll be seeing you guys in the next video, which will probably be December, so until then, see you guys.